On today's episode of Let's Talk Dog Business, we are talking to Adam Ashburn from Test Tube Marketing, where we are going to figure out how to build an audience and how to market yourself.
So today we're joined by marketing expert Adam Ashburn. So Adam, we would love to know what it is you do, and if you could share that with everyone else, that would be amazing.
Hello.
Hello.
Thanks for calling me an expert, firstly. Well, as you said, it's marketing. That's what I do. And for the last 7 or 8 years, I've been in marketing. And for six or seven of those years, I was the head of marketing for a group of companies, which I'd been involved in from the very beginning. So I'd been with those businesses from startup, like 13 years, I think it was, that we started that group of companies. And for the last 7 of those years, I was the head of marketing. I just kind of fell into it because it's not something that I ever did at school, or I didn't have any qualifications in it. I just fell in love with marketing a few years ago. And at the beginning of this year, January of 2024, I set up my own marketing agency. And specifically, we've created that agency to help business owners that have already got an audience of people monetize that audience better with better languaging, better messaging, copy, funnels, campaigns, all that sort of stuff.
And you're wearing your hat. If anybody watching this, you'll see that. But you're Test Tube Marketing. Where did that name come from? I'm intrigued.
Yeah, so I always get a lot of questions about Test Tube Marketing, as where did it come from? So the philosophy that I've had for many years in marketing and how I answer most questions is really annoying, because people ask me a question about, oh, what do you think about this? And what do you think about that in terms of the marketing for their business? And I'm like, I don't know, test it. Like the reason is that, like, no matter how well something's worked for another business, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for you. We had a group of companies inside the organization that I was part of, and what worked for one business in the same building didn't work for another one, because the audience was different, completely different audience, completely different language and messaging. And so my philosophy around marketing is just test it. I don't know. And really, when it comes to testing, I think there's a couple of things that are really important, which I know that a lot of business owners make a mistake of. The questions I like to ask when testing something is, how can you test it fast and how can you test it cheap? Because what people do, they'll go, oh, I've got a great idea for a new product or a service or a new lead magnet or something like that. Spend fucking ages, weeks, months creating the perfect thing to then go and introduce it to the world, and then they think it's amazing, but no one else does. And so for me, it's like, okay, you've got an idea, you've got a concept, let's test it fast, see if there's some proof there that it's going to work, and then you can make it perfect, which you'll never be, as you know.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
That's where the test tube marketing came from. And I think anyone in business would have gone through a stage of making something perfect before getting it out there. And people don't actually care that much.
This is something that
Absolutely.
we come across quite a lot, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think since the kind of like revolution of the online space as well. And excuse me, my voice today is a bit croaky.
If she holds out, it'll be amazing.
Yes, we will do it. We'll push through. Yeah, but since the kind of revolution of the online space, I think it's fair to say it's across the board. I don't even think it's necessarily industry specific, but there seems to be this thing of like, oh, I'll just create an online course and I can create some passive income. And like you said, everyone goes all in on creating that perfect course. They launch it thinking it's going to help answer all of their problems and the money's just going to come rolling in, and it's tumbleweed.
But you've hang on, before you even answer this, actually, they launch it. Do they? Do they even launch it? Is there a plan?
Very true.
Is there any strategy?
Probably
very
not.
true.
There's probably
As
not
I launch,
a
it's like,
strategy.
I'm just going to put a post out.
You know
Yeah,
the language,
Yeah.
so you're
Put
going
a
to say
post out
launch.
then saying,
Buy
I've
this
got
thing.
this course, go buy, or maybe not even that, and it's just suddenly appears on a website.
Yeah, there's a couple of things in that. Like there's 2 things really. There's the belief that build it and people will come. Like, and a lot of people fall into that trap. They go, I've got this idea and it's the best idea in the world. Look, no mother out there thinks that they've got an ugly baby.
Yeah.
There's plenty of fucking ugly babies out there.
Yeah. I was at a baby shower on Sunday having this same conversation.
So it's like, when I've got this idea, it's the best idea in the world. It's like, of course everyone else is going to think my baby's cute. Just so happens both of mine are, but just saying.
They are. I can vouch.
But so firstly they go, I've got this thing, I think it's amazing, therefore everyone else thinks it's going to be amazing as well. And all I have to do is simply create it, and then people will come, which doesn't happen. And also a lot of with the online, like the online creation of stuff, it's the easiest thing to deliver once it's created, but it's the hardest thing to sell. And people don't realize how hard it is to sell an online course of any description across any industry, because it's called like the sales to fulfillment continuum, which is a Hormozy thing. You've got things that are easy to sell, and then things that are hard to sell, or easier and harder. And the things that are easier to sell are the done for you stuff, the one-to-one stuff. Like, it's easier for me to sell, I will do all of your marketing for you so you don't have to do a thing, than it is, I'll show you how to do it, then you've got to do it all yourself. And the price points are very different. Obviously, the done for you stuff is much more expensive. But even though the price point of the do it yourself stuff is much lower, it's so hard to sell, because it puts the onus on the person that's learning it to then do it. And I think that's often overlooked when people go, oh, I've got an idea, I'll create an online course and then I'll sell it. It's like, A, it might not be a good idea to begin with, and B, it will be really hard to sell, especially if you haven't got an audience. Even harder to sell if you've got no audience already.
Yeah, I think it's worth delving into this audience bit a bit more, isn't it? Because we think we have audiences just because you do have a social media page maybe, or even because you do have a website, or you have an air quote business.
Yeah.
But who is the audience, and how do you even know how engaged they are,
or anything about them?
Yeah, it's like, and how long does it even take to build that audience? Like, so I suppose an interesting way to look at it could be, you've just launched this new business earlier this year. You've got this wealth of experience behind you, so you are the expert. You know exactly how to market it. How has that served you in creating this new business? Like, what are the pitfalls that you've learned, and actually what's the reality of it? Because you've still got to build that audience, and we're still only 6-7 months into the year.
Yeah, good questions. So I suppose the advantage I've got, because I know marketing well, is not making the biggest mistake that most people make when it comes to starting a business, in my opinion, and that is trying to serve the masses. It's like, what most people do is they've got whether it's in your industry or any other industry, they've got a product or a service or a skill set or an expertise that they're going to sell to the world. And they don't want to pigeonhole themselves. So because their belief is that will narrow the market. And so what they try and do is appeal to everyone, which is the opposite way around. So you need to narrow the focus to broaden the appeal. But what most people do is they broaden the focus and then they end up narrowing the appeal. So my advantage was knowing this stuff. When we started the business, it was like, we were starting from zero, from absolute zero. We did need to build an audience. Obviously, I had a lot of expertise and credibility in the area and in the industry anyway. And so a lot of people knew who I was. So I was very specific with who I was going to work with and put that message out there. And I think what a lot of people are afraid to do is be that specific initially, because their belief is that they'll turn too many people off. But the reality is, if you don't do that, then no one is turned on at all. And so for me, the whole thing around audience is specificity. So you've got something that I talk about a lot, which is you've got your market. And I think for people listening to this podcast, a good way to describe it is say if you do dog training, like your market is anyone with a dog, which is a massive market. But then, and this works across every single industry, your market is a big thing. Then what you need to do is go and do something called market segmentation, which is go from my great big huge audience of everyone with a dog, is how can I now segment that and do some market segmentation? So it could be anyone with a dachshund, which is what I've got, or it could be people of a certain age that have just got a dog for a first time, or it could be you've got 3 dogs. You segment it down into all the different segments that you could possibly speak to individually, and then to start with, you choose one. And then rather than going, hey, I'm a dog trainer, or I'm a physical therapist or a personal trainer or whatever, you go, I am now this thing for this very subset of people. And you build your audience initially on a very narrow field of people, because what happens then is you actually get more. The belief is you'll get less people in. You'll get more people in that way because people will believe you're talking to them specifically. If I see an ad for dog training, I'm not even going to see it. Like, it's probably not going to resonate with me at all. But as soon as you put like miniature dachshund in there, then suddenly it's going to get my attention because you're talking to me now. And so for me, the whole audience thing at the beginning is absolutely down to specificity. And then from there, once you've got traction with the business, then it can broaden out. But if you try and start too broad, you're asking for a lot of trouble.
Yeah. I think we see this play out, don't we, when dog trainers specifically have loads of different services available. So you've got your one-to-one training, puppy classes, adolescent classes, all the stuff that we're always talking about. And the business will inevitably grow, but it becomes very much it can become a bit of a beast. Mm-hmm. And then we have no idea how to control it because we've now got all these people, and now we've started to become a bit of a jack of all and a master of none. And for me, that's one example of where burnout creeps in a lot because we haven't done that specificity in the first instance.
Do you have any advice for people on how they go about specifying? Because it's that scary thing of, you've just described it. People are going, I feel like I need to talk to everyone because that's what I'm going to bring in. But actually, you don't want everyone anyway. And let's face it, we don't want everyone anyway. So, yeah, what's your advice for somebody? Do you give this kind of advice where you would recommend how to go through that process yourself and niche, or however you want to describe that specificity?
Yeah, definitely. So there's a couple of ways around it. There's a couple of ways that I talk around it when crafting a message, which really helps with this. And first and foremost, you need to do the market segmentation. You need to go, okay, what are the segments that I could possibly target? Then I think before making the decision on what you're going to niche into and then crafting a message, I think you need to determine what you want to. Like, I think one thing that you should really think about before making a decision is like, there's 5 C's to this, if you like. There's what do you actually care about? Like, if you're a dachshund owner like me, you might not actually care that much about Great Danes or something like that, for example. So going, what are you passionate about? What do you care about first and foremost? Because what you don't want to do is pigeonhole yourself into an area that actually you don't really give a shit about, because you're not going to be motivated then. So first and foremost, you actually got to care. Then ask yourself where you've got credibility. So where have you already got case studies or personal story or things like that where you're credible? Then definitely this is one that, some people might find it's a bit icky, but who's got the cash? Like, it's definitely a question you need to ask, because when you create products or services, you need people to be able to pay for them. So if you're targeting a market that's, if you're generalizing, are not very affluent or can't afford it, then you're asking for trouble already to begin with. Then that's 3, isn't it? The 4th one is contacts. Like, what contacts have you already got in terms of whether it's your phone or database or people that you already know. And then the other one is community. What communities can you access that have got those people in? So you think about all those things. A good thing to do is actually to create like a little matrix. So you put those 5 things down and then 0 to 10, and then go, right, I'm going to pick this dash down and go, right, how much do I care about that? 10. How much credibility have I got? 9. And out of 10, and then go down. And then you could do that with a number of different market segments. And then the score can determine, okay, that seems like a feasible one to go into. Does that make sense?
Yeah, total sense. And I'm just thinking, who on earth has ever done that?
I know. I love that though. I wish I'd have done that back in the day.
It just makes it a little bit more scientific, because I think you need to answer those questions in order to know whether it's a good idea to go into. Like, first and foremost, if you don't care about it, then that's a 0. That's going to really impact. And if you've got no credibility in it, it's really going to make it, tougher. When I was starting a business, if I went into sales, for example, and right, I'm going to start a sales agency, I don't care too much. I mean, I have a very close relationship with sales, as all marketers do, but I don't particularly enjoy the process. I definitely haven't got any credibility in it. So already my score's pretty low, and then the others could score 10, like contacts, cash, community, that sort of thing. But really, those first 2 are great indicators of not to go in there.
Very interesting. What if somebody's credibility is 0, though, if they're just starting out?
Yeah, good question. So I think credibility can be measured in one of 2 ways. Either you've got proof of concept for doing it for other people, or yourself. So a lot of people go, well, I haven't got any case studies or testimonials for my business yet because I'm just starting out. But the reason they've gone into that business is from a personal story. Like, it would be weird to go in just out of the blue, go into a business that you've got no experience of in your life and start. I'd question whether that's a good decision. It's like, well, what are you doing? Like, where's the expertise? So it's either you're going to have some form of credibility in your own personal story, I'd say, or working with people. Unless you say, well, no, the people who's going to do this off a whim and have no credibility or anything like that.
There's possibly some, isn't there?
Yeah, that comes in though to the imposter syndrome thing, doesn't it? When people have, but this is, imposter syndrome is quite a big thing in a lot of industries anyway, but it's that if you've been like, how many people who become dog trainers have, say, a reactive dog and they've worked through it themselves, and then they might become a dog trainer off the back of it. And that credibility thing is it's a really nice thing to look at, because people can go, I have got the credibility because I've done it myself. I've been through the journey myself. And now I'm sharing that journey with other people. So I think that ties quite nicely into that imposter syndrome. If people are feeling a bit like that, then you've just got to look at that thing you're really awesome at and you've done with your own dog, and you can transfer that to other people, can't you? So that's a really nice way to do it.
Yeah, like I've worked with thousands of business owners. I have never sat with one or spoken to one that doesn't have some experience in what it is that they're sharing. A lot of the businesses that I've worked with are, service-based experts, people like that. So they're selling their expertise in one way, shape or form. I've never sat with anyone that's gone, oh yeah, I just thought it'd be a good idea, so I've done it. I've got no qualifications. I've got no person. I've got nothing. I've never met one. Even if, like in, the dog training world, it could be that the credibility is that they worked at a kennels when they were a kid for years and they, learn how to change their behaviors and things like that. There'll be some there for the desire to want to start a business and make money from it, in my opinion, and not to just think on, well, where have I proven myself with other people? But start with yourself. Where have you done it?
Yeah. And then would you recommend that then gets transferred into their messaging as well? So if they've been through the process with their own dog, for example, the example we used earlier, and then they wanted to help other people, you bring that in. Yeah.
So the niching thing is all about you, as in, like, you need to decide what the niche is, what works for you as a business owner, as an individual. Then everything else in marketing after that point becomes about them, the other person. You'll see on websites that a lot of websites open. We're doing a marketing review as a little freebie at the moment for people. and we do that through their website, most of them, A, the messaging's shit, and B, it's just the opening of the website is, hey, look at me, look at why I'm credible, I this, I that, I the other. And that's a big mistake that people make because no one cares. No one cares. They're on your website because they want something for themselves. And so I say that because the niching starts with you, like what do you care about? Where is your credibility? After that point, it's all about them. And when it comes to the message, there's a little formula that I use, which is 4 W's basically, which is once you've decided on what that market segment is, then ask yourself and do research on who is it specifically. So the market segmentation will nail down that side of things. But then it's like, what do they want? So what do people actually want, not need? What a lot of people do is sell what people need. So they will sell a 12-week coaching program or a nutrition and mindset plan. And you're like, fuck off. No one's lying in bed. No one's lying in bed at night. Say if you're after personal training, for example, no one's lying in bed at night going, you know what? I feel like shit. I really want a 12-week mindset, nutrition and training plan.
What do you mean you don't do that?
No,
I do that every morning.
Yeah, exactly. No one's ever doing it. But what they want is to get a certain result, whatever that may be. It might be that their dog is an annoying little shit that's just tearing things up all the time, every time they leave the house, and they want to stop that from happening. And so it's really, once you've chosen your market segmentation, it's getting really, really clear on who it is that you want to target specifically. What do they want? I think one of the big mistakes people make in marketing is they try and encapsulate their whole business into their marketing. So it's like, really what you should be doing is go, right, we're going to run a campaign that's specifically targeted to this particular person. Forget the rest of the business for now. We just want to speak to these people and then focus in on those. And the beauty of it is, it's like, it's called vertical marketing. The beauty of it is you can have multiple different messages. You can still at the end sell the same thing, but you're being really, really specific with your messaging on the front. So you ask who it is that you're speaking to, what it is that they want, not need. Why do they want that? So why do they want that result? What they're trying to feel, how they're trying to feel, what they're trying to achieve, what they're trying to avoid. Get really clear on the motivations behind wanting that result. And then finally, the last little bit is, when can they get it? So in what time frame can you promise the result or deliver the result? And that last one isn't necessarily relevant for every industry, every business, because there might not be a time frame that you could put on it. But using those 4 components, the who you're speaking to, what do they want, why do they want it, and when can they get it? Using those 4 components, you can craft a message. So, for example, it could be like, I help miniature dachshund owners that are fed up with their dog chewing their shoes stop it in the next 6 weeks. You're going, sweet, I'm interested now. As you could probably tell, the little shit chews my shoes. And it pisses me off.
It's coming through here, isn't it? What's happening with your dog?
Truth bombs.
The thing is, we are subject to, research was done in 2014 and the number was so high that it's hard for me to believe. So I'm going to halve it and say 2,500 marketing messages a day. Yeah, which is still an obscenely high number if you think about TV, radio, social media, like driving down the road, you've got bloody billboards, you've got this message behind, you're bombarded by marketing messages all the time, every single day. How many of those do you consciously actually see? A fraction of a percent, I would say. And so if you're not super specific with what you're saying, people aren't even noticing it. They're just going to keep on going, keep scrolling, keep on just ignoring it. There was some data again from a couple of years ago that I think it was 18.8 billion pounds was spent on advertising in the UK in 12 months. 4% of that was remembered positively. 7% of that was remembered negatively, and 89% of that wasn't even noticed or remembered at all.
Wow.
And that's £17 billion wasted.
Wow.
What most people think is, I need to focus on not being in that 7% that was noticed unfavorably or negatively. But actually that's good as well, because you're being noticed. Think about Go Compare, that really fucking annoying advert. So that would have a check against it of noticed, but negatively or not in a positive light.
But we all know what it is.
We all know what it is.
And you'd still probably use it.
And when you go to get car insurance.
Yeah, it's the one you remember and
exactly.
You put it in. Yeah.
Same with the meerkat.
The meerkat.
People might think that's really annoying as well. So don't focus on not being in that 7% and possibly being a bit disruptive or whatever. Focus on not being in the 89% that just gets ignored. And the 89% that gets ignored is because their messaging is poor. They're not specifically talking to a unique person. And so that, £17 billion is a lot of money to waste.
It's a lot. We need to get more annoying, don't we?
More annoying.
I was thinking about getting.
Say that we're annoying.
I was thinking about getting more of that £17 billion that's wasted. If you're wasting it, just give it to me.
So how do we get the 4 W's then? What advice would you have for somebody to be able to get those?
Yeah, so it's a simple exercise, but it's not easy to come up with the message. So it takes time. So what I would recommend, and what I do recommend and also do, because we work with clients on this, is literally write down the who, the what, why they want it, when can they get it, categories on a pad or in a note or something, and then just brainstorm it and get all of the answers out. And the who's, this is where the segmentation helps, because there might be quite a few who's. There'll be loads of everything. Then what you do is let that information sit for a bit and give yourself a bit of a framework of what it is that you're trying to create from a message. The one that I said, like, I help X person get a certain result without whatever the pain point is in this time period. Give yourself a little framework like that. You might not be able to get it to work for you, but then just start crafting different messages using bits of the stuff that you've done before. And this is not a 5-minute process. The best thing to do is get all the information out your body first. There's a great copywriter, OG copywriter, Joseph Sugarman, who's written an amazing book. He's like from the old school copywriters that back in the day, if you think about back in the day in print, when everything was print, you had to write copy that was that compelling that people would read it, cut it out, send it off with a check, and wait for the product to return. That's how it used to work back in the day. That's what advertising was. It's not like now where you can just, everything's online and stuff like that. So if you want to study great copywriting, study those guys. But one of the things that he says is like, get all the information out of your body first, get it all out your head, because then magic sort of starts to happen. Like as soon as you're trying to focus too hard on getting the information out, you're going to struggle. So give yourself a bit of a framework, get all the information out, and then you'll have ideas pop up at the most inappropriate times. You'll be in the shower or something, you'll be like, that's a great idea. Just have your phone close by to make notes. But my advice is always that. Go through the process, get that information out, give yourself a little framework. I help X person get certain result without some sort of pain in a given time frame. Use that little framework and then just start to create them, and don't rush it. It could take a few days before you start to get some ideas come out. And even the really shit ones, even when you think of them and you go, that's shit, get it down, because it might be shit, you might be right, but there might be one word in that you've used that works really well with another one that you've written down. And so just get all the ideas out and then just commit to one and get it out there and test it.
Would you recommend using a client language?
100%. And actually, I would not use client language. I would actually use prospect.
That's what I meant, yeah.
Because interestingly, when you ask clients questions and do market research, if you like, they give you the answers that now you might have conditioned them to give.
They've learned about.
They might be using words and phrases that they've now learned from you, that people that don't know who you are haven't got a clue what that means. Like, I see this mistake a lot. Where was I reading it? I was reading something the other day, but basically it says clever people knows that simplicity works. Stupid people try and overcomplicate things. And I'm not saying people are stupid, and people do overcomplicate things. And I think it's not from a perspective of being stupid. It's more from a perspective of, I need to show my credibility. So I'm going to use language that shows I'm credible.
Oh,
and actually that doesn't work. It completely switches people off. Like, this more simple the language, the better. And when you speak to your clients, they might use some of the jargon that you use that the prospect will never use. So yes, do speak to clients, but also try and get the people before then as well.
Yeah. We always say, or we've started doing it over the years, haven't we? Where you're on those initial sales inquiries or someone's emailed in, keep that somewhere, because the language, you can pull it out and go, these are the words and phrases that people are coming to us with. Let's put that out there, because that's who you're wanting to target.
Yeah, exactly. And specificity is everything in marketing. You've got to help a unique person solve a specific problem. And as soon as you deviate from speaking to one individual person, you can't solve problems as well. Therefore, the perceived value of what you offer is massively diminished. Like, we were working with a client recently whose business helped. It was a cool little business in theory. It was a cool little business, but they were targeting two audiences at the same time. They were entrepreneurs, stroke business owners. That's quite synonymous, which is fine. And at the same time, people that are employed in corporate jobs that want to progress. And so in the same copy, the solution was the same thing, but in the same copy, they were talking about growing your business, making it more profitable, generating leads and stuff like that. And so the corporate person's going, what the fuck are you talking about? And then next section of copy is talking about getting overlooked for promotions and want to increase your annual salary and stuff like that. Now the business owner's going, what are you talking about? So because you're trying to talk to those two different audiences, now both of those people don't think you're credible. Your credibility is just diminished because you're trying to talk to two people at once. Whereas if you only talk to the business owner, or you only talk to the person that's employed in a corporate job, like, when you're that specific, the perception is that this person that's talking to me has got some innate knowledge about me and my industry that other people don't have because they're a specialist.
Yeah. I think it's important to know that you can get spin-offs from it, can't you? So I don't know if we've publicly shared this information yet, but
God, what are you about to say?
So Vic and I started Canine Business Academy actually early part of 2023, except it wasn't called Canine Business Academy. We called it Rebel Core Collective.
Rebel Core Collective?
Yeah, like what?
Which is like, what the fuck does that mean?
Exactly. Like, what
the fuck? Rebel Cork, like you were drinking wine.
Well, we probably were.
Yeah,
Well.
exactly.
No, so
we wanted to be rebellious. That was the whole thing about it.
And we, air quote, launched it. We created
really
our Facebook
badly.
group, and we were like, we've already niched into the dog vicinity. So our messaging, and I use that word very loosely back then.
We needed you, Adam.
Thing is, though, it was shit because we knew all of this stuff and we still did it, which goes to show how ingrained it is.
You were in our world anyway, but we just didn't apply it.
But we thought we'd go dog professionals and just sweep the whole industry.
Mm-hmm.
And shock, horror, fell flat on its backside. Like, nothing happened. And then as soon as we were like, do you know what? We're trainers. Let's just lean in on that. And actually, off the back of it, all of our messaging is pretty much trainers. We know it applies to a wider audience, and arguably you could call us just general business strategists, but we're all in on the dog world. And we've got people working with us now that are groomers, boarders, daycares. Like, it's attracted a lot more, but we haven't gone out with that messaging. We've gone all in on we're trainers. And then this business has just gone from strength to strength because we got that messaging bit nailed.
And we started using language of people that we were hearing in our industry.
Yeah, and you're solving problems for people specifically there as well. And I think this is the greatest fear around not doing it, is that you're stuck with it forever. It's like niching is a marketing tactic. It is not a life sentence. It's like you can pick a niche, you can pick a certain segment and create a marketing message around that and run with it. If it goes well, great. If it tanks, that's okay as well. Just do something else.
That is such a good description. It's not a life sentence, because I feel that's what some people think that it is. But what if I don't like it? Well, change it.
Change it. Change it, you know.
Yeah.
Currently, like with our agency, we are not doing front end lead generation. Like we're just focusing on the monetization of the audience that you've already got. In a year or two's time, who knows what it's going to look like? I know one thing is it's not going to look exactly the same as what it does today, but you need to be that specific to get traction like you guys did when you went with whatever your wine club was called, something around.
I'm not going to look at it any other way now.
You know,
RCC is actually the acronym.
Yeah, you know, when you went that route, you did it with the best intentions, but then when you dialed it back to dog training, then you ask yourself, well, why did we do dog training? You go, well, we care about it. We've got credibility there. There's people there that can afford it. We've got contacts. We've got a community. So you ticked very high on the scale out of 10 for all of those things to choose that niche. But when you did that, that's where you got traction. And now you can definitely, if you want to, do offshoots, because now you've built an audience of people that see you credible and that you're great at growing dog training businesses and that you get results time and time again. And what's your credibility to start with? Your own. You built a successful dog training business by yourself. And it's like, you know, that's as credible as it gets. And now you've obviously done it time and time and time again with other people. And then now you've built that audience of people. You know, it's how companies do it. It's like Peloton's a good example. So when Peloton came out, I don't know how long ago it was, it feels like it came out of nowhere a few years ago. All they did was the bikes. Now it's everything. It's treadmills, it's clothing, it's all this stuff that you then add on to it. If they'd started off with, right, we're bikes, we're treadmills, we're clothing, I don't know what else they do, rowing machines, they wouldn't have got the traction initially, because they're going into a market that's already dominated by someone. And then so taking that little specific angle to begin with just gets you the traction, builds up the audience, gives you the credibility and the authority, and then you can do other things.
And builds the trust in the product, doesn't it? Because if they like that particular product, they're going to trust other products that you produce off the back of it.
Exactly. You deliver in that, and then when you start something else, you go, yes, these people deliver. So I'm absolutely in for that. And they also know, like you do, like if you're building an audience of dog people, or in Peloton's cases, fitness people, there's other things that they're spending money on that they could spend with you.
Yeah. Yeah. So on that theme of you've got your messaging right, you know who you're targeting. And I feel like the answer to one of these would be, now that you know who that audience is, you likely are going to know where they're going to hang out, i.e. on which platform. Because then I suppose the logical question most people may be thinking is, well, that's great. I've done all that work now. How do I build an audience?
Yeah. What next?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the what next is, you're definitely right, thinking around where people hang out predominantly in the given industry that you operate in. I think you hear market message media a lot. So who's your market? What's your message? And what media is it that you're going to put yourself in front of? I've got a little bit of a spin on it, where I believe the media isn't necessarily the platform and all that sort of stuff, because that changes. Like, 30 years ago, the media was print really and TV, and then that constantly always changes. Really, the media is the person, is a human being. That's the thing that you want to grab the attention of. And where that happens constantly changes. Who knows where we're going to be in 10 years or time. That said, it's always good to get a good idea of where your people are going to be predominantly hanging out. If you're wanting to speak to people in corporate side of businesses, doing all your marketing on TikTok probably isn't the best idea. Equally, because some of our clients have got like dance schools for young girls, or gymnastics schools, or martial arts for kids, like putting all your ads on LinkedIn doesn't make any sense either. So do the work to find out where people are going to be. And if your message is strong, it's going to work a million times better on any platform. Then for me, building an audience is all about taking it off platform. So whether it's social media, whether it's you do print advertising, because that still works. One other thing, like while I remember or think of it, what most people do is when they think about creating an audience is going, how can I get everyone out here to come to me, and forget that they could go and place themselves physically in the right place. So if you're a dog training business, there's going to be events and things like that, exhibitions with shitloads of dog people in. Go there. Like, it's much harder to get someone off the street than it is to go to a big event where all your audience is going to be, and plonk yourself there and work there. And you don't have to pay for exhibition stands and stuff like that. It's just putting yourself in the right environment. But I'm really, the thing for me is off platform, build an email list. So we are big into email, and there's a number of reasons why we're so big on it. You own it. You own the data. Like 4 or 5 weeks ago, Instagram and Facebook went down. Now, it was only for a short period of time, but what if that had been for days or weeks or longer, and your entire audience and all of your marketing equity is in there? You're done. You have to start again. What if you get hacked? Like this happened to a client last week, where he's built his whole audience on Facebook and Instagram. He's had his account hacked. He can't get it back. He's got to start again. So now you've gone from tens of thousands of followers and audience to nothing again. So I'm
that's painful.
Yeah, imagine. Yeah.
Oh.
Or like you could be on YouTube and you've got there's plenty of people with big audiences on YouTube that have said the wrong thing and get deplatformed and get cancelled and stuff like that. And, I think that you're at the behest of these social media companies then, if you solely rely on your audience being there. So that's one of the strongest reasons to get it off platform onto email. And you might go, well, you might use an email like Go High Level or Keep or Active Campaign or something like that. What if they close down? Yeah. But what you should definitely do is back up your data every month and just go, oh, my database, back up, and it goes onto external storage or something like that. So you don't lose the data. That's the key thing. And so that's the number one reason I would say for being active and deliberate for getting people off platform onto your own platform. And secondly, email marketing done well outperforms social media and client acquisition massively. Ooh. Hugely.
It's a controversial subject though, isn't it? Because there are people that say it's done, it's had its day, email marketing. So you would obviously disagree with that.
100%. It's definitely not done. I've got lots of data to back it up. It's done if you're shit at it. If you just do what everyone else is doing, then anything's done. Like, I think that because we get so many emails every day, like if we had our phones and you have a look, like I've got a bit of OCD, so I don't like having loads of unread emails.
I get that.
But by the time I go back to my phone, I'll have another bunch that I need to deal with. And I think because people know that they get loads of shit, they just go, yeah, it doesn't work. And if you don't stand out,
you still have an email account.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's the same with all marketing. It's like, yeah, it doesn't work if you don't get attention. The number one rule in marketing is to get people's attention. And you do that by being specific, by crafting a good message. If you don't get anyone's attention, you're done. like it's over. And so it's the same with your email inbox. It's like, it's just another form of marketing, but you have to get people's attention, and you do that in a very specific way. Like we do a lot of email with our clients just because we have a way to get it to work so well. And it's just being different, and it's actually having like conversations like this over email rather than it just being crap and pitchy and all that sort of stuff. And it does perform better than social media and client acquisition. We recently ran a campaign for a client who has 880 something thousand followers on Instagram. So a really good audience. He's in the fitness space, and he had an email list of, I think it was 20,000, just under 20,000. So decent email list. We ran he was starting off a new app, and we worked with him on the launch of that app. And so we basically mirrored things through email and Instagram. He's great at creating content on Instagram and stuff like that anyway. Obviously, with that following, he's done something right. And we did just over 1,000 sales of the app at £29 a month. 87% of those sales came from email, 13% came from Instagram. And so you can just do a better job of client conversion over email. Because also on email, you can be much more specific. You can segment, you can talk to people individually. It's not like social media where it's there and then it's gone so quickly. So, you know, in my opinion, like build an audience and use social media to build your email list. And, you know, like our email list for our agency now is, I think as of this morning, 509. So it's not massive. We only started it in January. And so, but the open rates are good. We get replies to every single email we send out. Clients that we work with that have been emailing for years, we start emailing for their clients, and they start getting replies that they never had before. So it's the way in which you do it, not the thing itself that doesn't work. And so to build an audience, to answer the question, I would definitely look to build an email list, and then you'd use social media and all this sort of stuff to drive people through some sort of lead magnet of some description to build that list. And then when you're building that list, just commit to being consistent, to send an email a week to begin with, maybe 2 a week, but be consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can vouch that your emails through test tube marketing are really good. Yeah, they're really good. We enjoy getting them. So for like, this is something we've done a little bit of training on recently, actually, the email marketing. And obviously we're not the experts, you are, but we were giving examples of people that do it really well. So I think if anyone wants to sign up to your emails, although they're not about dog training or the industry specifically, they're really good to give you a good idea of what sort of content to include.
Yeah, they're definitely not about dog training. No. Although saying that, Hooper does make an appearance. He's been in my emails on more than one occasion. The little shit. That's my dog for anyone listening. But yeah, it doesn't really matter what the industry is. It's more about how it's done, and then you make it relevant to your specific industry, because it is a good way to stay in touch with people. Because marketing is about salience, right? It's about being noticeable. It's about being top of mind. Like, someone might not need our services at all, or they might need them in a few months. But if they think about in a few months, I need some marketing help, we're going to be the ones that people think of. We've had referrals from people, this is honest truth, referrals from people that aren't even clients and never worked with us to other people. They're on our list and they've done an intro, gone, hey, this is the marketing company I was talking about at dinner the other night. You should connect and see how you can work together. We're not even working with them. So they don't know if we're any good or not, but it's because we're consistently turning up in their inbox. We're adding value. We're not just ramming pitches down their throat. And it's the same in your industry. Like, build a list of people that want dog training or whatever it is. They might not want it straight away, but remain consistent over time. And when the time comes, they might contact you, or they might be having a conversation with someone that does need what you do, and you're top of mind. And that's the key thing.
And someone knows is getting a dog or needs some help with their dog, don't they? So there's always that opportunity, isn't there?
There's two things that I was thinking about when you were talking then. One of it is that consistency has to be key, because I think we all forget that not everybody is in the market all the time to buy. Like, just because you've sent an email out doesn't mean that someone's ready to buy there and then. But that's not to say that they're not ready to buy in a few months' time. Like you were alluding to, like we all have like a million emails landing in our inbox every day. And a lot of them we've chosen to be on those lists. And then a lot will like unsubscribe because they're no longer applicable to me. But the ones that, certainly for like Vic and I and the space that you're in as well, like with all the self-development and worlds like that. It's like, I'm not ready to buy all the time, but I still want to hear about it so that when I am, or something catches my attention and go, oh, do you know what? I'm ready for that now because I've grown, or I'm in a different space, or I've actually just had a cash injection of something. So I can go, oh, I'm in. I want to do it. But if that person's not being consistent, then they're very easily forgotten as well.
Yeah. And you've made a good point there. Some more data, because I like data and stuff like that from research. When someone inquires about a product or a service, 53% of those people go on to buy in the next 18 months. However, they don't necessarily buy from the person they initially inquired from, first and foremost. So if I inquire about a hot tub, for example, 53% of the time that person will go on to buy a hot tub in the next 18 months. However, only 15% of the total buyers purchase in the first 30 days. The rest, the 85% rest of the sales come from after month 1 all the way up to month 18. And so if you don't follow up, if you're not being consistent with your marketing, you're basically marketing for your competitors. Because if they follow up and they do a better job of being consistent, they'll snap up the 85% of buyers. What people tend to do is, with their marketing, there's 2 types of marketing. Were you at EE? Did you see a speak at EE?
I couldn't make it this time.
So we spoke about the 2 types of marketing. Well, I've just kicked the mic. Have I fucked that up? So the 2 types of marketing, you've got make-out marketing, which is basically remember back in the day when you used to go dating?
There's lots of back in the day references.
Making out? Are we talking about
No,
kissing?
we are talking about exactly what you think. So back in the day, if you wanted to go out and you wanted to get lucky one night, you'd go out to a bar. That's what you used to have to do.
Oh my God, I'm so glad we don't live back in the day anymore.
Yeah. You go out to a bar and basically, if you're that way inclined, you'd just be going up and propositioning people all night. You'd get 99 people tell you to fuck off and think you're a twat, and then you might get lucky once. Okay. And so a lot of marketing is like that. It's like bang, 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 get a result now. Like, here's this thing, buy it, and trying to get that immediate result. You'll get some luck doing that, but there's a lot of people think you're a bit of a twat. And then the other way is what we call marriage marketing, which is like, you might still be single, but you actually want to create and have a long-term relationship with someone. You might still go to a bar and you might still talk to whatever it is that you're into, but you'll approach it in a completely different way. You'll be like, hey, it will start off with, how could I possibly get your phone number or something like that? And then you might be texting or whatever, speaking on the phone for a few weeks. And then you'll go out on a couple of dates, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like, what you wouldn't do is start that process, then disappear off the face of the earth for 6 weeks, then phone back up, go, hey, it's me again, and expect to get the same like response. It's like, if you're committed to building a long-term relationship and marriage with your clients, so getting good quality clients that love, refer, and stick with you, then you have to have that consistency across the board, because everyone that you get the phone number for, they might not be right now, but you need to treat it like dating. So you be consistent, you be caring, you be kind, you be considerate, and then you take these little steps. You might go for a little kiss first, which might be like a little, like a little cheaper product that you've got for a few quid just to, start the ball rolling. And so you've got those 2 types of marketing. They both work. So there are things that when you do a launch, for example, that's very much the make-out marketing. That's like, hey, I've got this thing, go get it now. And I'm going to give you all the reasons to go and get it now with a really good offer. But also that sits alongside it that actually helps that side of your marketing is the continuous marriage marketing, which, you know, how many people did you go out on? You probably go one now. How many people did you go out on dates with and stuff like that before getting into a long-term relationship? Some of them fizzle out, but it doesn't mean that you stop approaching things in the right way. And I think that what people do is they go, I've done this marketing, it hasn't worked, therefore I'm not going to do anything else and I'm going to start something again new. It just doesn't work like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, a lot of sense.
We do hear that a lot, don't we, about people that have tried it for a few weeks or something and then don't get the results, because it isn't a quick, like you said before, it's not a quick thing, is it? You have to nurture them. You have to take the time to keep committing to it. So what advice would you give anyone on that if they're saying they've tried something for just a couple of weeks?
Yeah, like how long's the test period?
Yeah, what should you expect?
Yeah, great question. So without going into a specific marketing, you've seen the marketing map training that I do, I think. Without going into that, essentially what you have to do is track the data. So you need to know key data points in your marketing to know whether it's working or not. And you need to give it a bit of time in order to give it a chance to work. But there does come to a stage where, you know, no one thinks they've got an ugly baby. No mom thinks they've got an ugly baby. Like the rest of the world might think it's an ugly baby. Therefore, it's time to change what that thing is.
What the baby looks like.
Yeah, basically. Give it just filter it in real life or something like that. But yeah, I think in order to know, you need to be able to track individual parts of the journey. Also, what a lot of people do with their marketing is they'll go, right, I'm going to market this thing and do it for 3 or 4 weeks or whatever, not get the sales that they want from it, and then go, well, that didn't work and I'm chucking it in the bin, I'm starting again, which is akin to getting getting a flat tire in your car and then scrapping your car. It's like, well, you've got a flat tire. Like what a lot of people do with their marketing is they chuck the whole thing in the bin without seeing what bits are working and what's broken. And so, you know, without going into the training, because that's not possible to do on here, it's like, what are the key steps of your customer journey, if you like? Like it could be as simple as I'm gonna put content out on social media. I'm going to then message people. I'm going to add them as a friend. When I add them as a friend, I'm then going to do X, Y, Z. Like at each of these points where someone moves, track that information, because it might be that you didn't make any sales here because something wasn't working further downstream. Don't just assume that it's the whole thing that's broken. And so in order to make that decision, you need data, really. And that's not easy to do if you just don't really know what you're doing and you've got no process or plan to your marketing.
So what I'm hearing here is we need a strategy.
Yeah, I think strategy in my head, I think strategy, for me, strategy is what I define as your market, what outcome you're looking to achieve and what position you're going to take. So what's your market segmentation? What result are you looking to get as the person that's running the marketing campaign? Also think about what result you deliver, and then what's the position you're going to take? What's the message you're going to put out there? For me, that's the strategy. So who's your market? What's the outcome you're looking to achieve? What position are you looking to take? MOP. So the position is the messaging side of things. Then it goes into tactics. Then you go in, based off that information, what's the tactical implementation that I now need to go into? Because I think what most people do is their marketing strategy is posted on TikTok, on Insta or social and whereas that's tactics. I think the strategy bit is market, know what your outcome is and also what position you're taking. And then you need to go based off that information, what's the best tactical plan to get there? And then, to be fair, they're missing both parts of that. They haven't got the initial strategy. And when you don't have that initial strategy, your tactics, you might fluke them being right, but they're not going to be right because you haven't got an initial strategy to hang them off. So you definitely need that first. And then, as you say, having a tactical implementation plan. What is it that I'm going to be doing? And then how can I measure it?
Yeah. And it's very much like what we call in the dog training world, variable reinforcement. People are getting reinforced occasionally from trying those tactics. and it
How do you
keeps
mean?
them going. So they might not get results very often, and then they get one and they're like, yay, it works. And they'll keep doing it. And you can train a dog using variable reinforcement.
Right,
so
I
the
see
dog
what you
keeps
mean.
on trying.
I thought you were talking about the business owner. So that's how you get the dogs. So that, right, I understand.
So you can use that. That's almost how it feels for somebody who try these things, and then it
Because
might
you get
work
the
occasionally.
odd win. It's like,
Like, yes, I'll keep doing that because that works. Oh, that doesn't work, but it works occasionally. So that's what I think keeps people using those tactics and being without a plan, because they don't really need one, because it maybe ticks them over.
Yeah, and I think to try and make it analogous to your world, it's a bit like having a pocket full of dog treats and only certain ones work as the positive reinforcement to the dog, and you're not looking to see which one it is. So you just keep on buying all of the same treats. And the truth is, you're probably wasting money on 99% of them. There's one of those that the dog really likes that it goes, when I get that one, I'm going to do what I'm told. But they're still doing all this other stuff because you're not actually measuring. You're doing everything blind.
Yeah. Or
does
maybe
that actually make sense?
No, it does, but maybe actually even further than that, maybe those treats could be used in a different way.
Yeah.
So they could be used in a different location, environment, that kind of thing. So if we want to go one step further to dog training analogies.
I love this. I'm just sitting back and watching you chat. It's great.
But it is like that though, isn't it? It's like there's certain things when you're training a dog that work and don't work. The end result is a trained dog. And you go, oh, yeah, now they're doing as they're told. And there's a load of stuff that doesn't work. And there's a few things that do. But what people tend to do is not know any of the stuff that does or doesn't work in their marketing. So either keep doing it all, which is massively inefficient, or just chuck it in the bin and then try and find a new way. And it's like, you've just chucked loads of stuff in the bin that was working really well, you know?
Yeah.
And that's why it makes it really hard for people to market themselves.
So it's all about strategy.
Yeah. Do you just got to think bigger picture? Who you targeting? And then it should all
have a plan.
Nicely come off the back of that.
Yeah, you've just got to have the balls and to go, right, I'm only going to speak to this individual to begin with. Or run marketing campaigns only for that individual person.
And it does take balls, doesn't it?
Yeah.
To actually make that jump and make that decision to
It's
go,
scary.
do you know what? I'm going to just get rid of all these people, potentially, that is in their mind. And just focus on one. It's a big ass scary thing to do.
Yeah, figuratively they get rid of all the people.
Yeah.
They don't actually have to get rid of anyone. And I think that's half the fear is that, oh no, I need to delete all these people from it. No, you don't need to do any of that stuff. You know, just lean into becoming the specialist in one particular area and see what happens.
Yeah, I love it. I could talk about this all the time, like all day, every day. Yeah. We should probably wrap it up.
Yeah, we should. So we've got a couple of more questions for you to finish off.
Oh,
One,
they're not bad.
They're not. This helps us out, actually, this question. So who do you know who, now you know all about what we're doing and the messages we're putting across, who would you recommend that we have on our podcast to keep spreading the messages and helping people?
You're not allowed to say big fish.
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to say big fish.
That's Adam's business partner, for anyone who doesn't know.
Put me on the spot now. Who
could be in the world of business, doesn't have to be dog related at all. As you're
I was going to say that's quite.
You're not. So.
Yeah, I'm definitely not dog related. Although I do have someone that is dog related that I think I've spoken to you about him before, actually. That used to work at Expert Empires years ago, who runs a dog. He sells dog, and I don't know how much he's adapted since this, but dog treadmills. He runs his whole business through Instagram.
Oh, yes.
It's all e-commerce. It's all drop shipping.
That's niche.
And so I know him well. And he lives in Cyprus, so you'd have to Zoom him in. But I think that would be a fascinating chat for you guys because he's really smart at the marketing side of things and also is in your industry.
What's his name?
Christo Koukoulis.
What an amazing
I love that name.
He's
definitely the name on,
he's Cypriot,
on its own. Oh, I love it.
So I can definitely put you in touch with things. I think it'll be really good. He's got his business. I can't recall what the business is. I think it's Dog Fit or something like that. Has got good size audience and he does quite well.
I follow Dog Fit.
Do you?
Yeah.
I might have got that wrong. So, but yeah.
Interesting.
And then the very last question. Where can people find out more about you and your test tube marketing?
Best thing to do, just go to www.testtubemarketing.com.
Sign up for the email list.
Just go on the email list.
Get on the mailing list.
Alternatively, I'm not really very active on social media. So, like on Facebook, I just generally post pictures of my kids and my family because I've got family all over the world and they like that. But yeah, that's probably the best way because when you get emails from either me or Fish, they are written by us. They come from our email address. So the replies and stuff come back to us. So yeah, that's probably the best way. Test tubes. That's TT, tubemarketing.com.
Amazing. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for making the journey over.
That's all right. It was fun in the rain. Listening to
Miserable day
podcasts.
today. Miserable July day.